Welcome and good day. We are going to be doing a flight today from Buttonville Airport in Toronto, just north of Toronto actually. And we're going to fly to Toronto International Airport. It's a very short flight, about 10 minutes. It's going to be to relocate our aircraft, and we're going to use the world map to do a flight plan. So our aircraft is the Textron Aviation Beechcraft King Air 350i. And we are going to fly from Buttonville here, set that as our departure. And we're going to fly the plane over to Toronto International Airport, which is Charlie Yankee Yankee Zulu. Set that as our arrival. So there's our flight plan right now. It's a direct route, but we can go instrument flight rules, low altitude, and we can select a runway, and we are going to attempt an ILS approach and landing using our autopilot on this plane. So let's select 24 right, and now we have additional information added to our flight plan. These are our waypoints. Now if you want to know your altitude, you can see cruise 2100 feet, and then we're going to go to 3000 Picma, and then Ibtal we will be at 3000, and then Noha we will be at 3000, and then descend in. So we'll be at 3000 when we try and pick up the glide slope. So this aircraft works very well in Microsoft Flight Sim. This is 40th edition. There don't seem to be too many bugs in the system with this plane. Some of the other planes have little glitches that make it not work quite so well sometimes on autopilot and ILS or RNAV landing. So I'm going to hit fly right now, and we're going to set the weather for snow, inclement, poor visibility. While this is loading, I'm going to show you where I can find our frequency for runway 24 right in Toronto. Just search this in Google and bring up flightplandatabase.com. Then click on Tools.
Traffic King Air 107 taking off runway Tree West departure.
And you see here I've added Charlie Yankee Yankee Zulu, and that's Toronto Pearson. So you're going to hit search now, and now we're going to look for runway 24 right, the localizer ILS frequency of 10930 megahertz. So make a note of that. We're going to need that to enter into the plane's navigation system. So here we are with our plane. We're getting ready to depart, and it's showing nighttime here right now, but we're going to change things up a bit. Beautiful airplane, $8 million turboprop, twin props. We've got right now the warning light on because we're on the runway. All the checklist has been done for us. You can go through it if you want. It's fun to do, but you just have to go up here and just hit that, and you'll bring up the checklist. But it is extensive and takes quite a bit of time to go through. And sometimes there's little glitches or hang-ups, but anyways, everything's been started for us now. But this is a warning light because the parking brake's on. So I'm just going to go down here, and here's where the parking brake is, and I'm going to push it in, and it'll shut that alarm off. Now we've got a little AP flashing there, but it's nothing to be concerned about. I'm going to go up top by pressing Control number 8 on my keyboard, and we need to turn on some lights, and I'm going to turn the wipers on. Instrument lights, I just turn them right up. Pilot displays, avionics brightness, our floodlight, That's a glare shield brightness. I don't worry too much about that. It's not going to be a problem. And sub panel lighting, and then we're going to turn these up as well because it's pretty dark at the moment. So now we can see things a lot better. So I'm going to go Control 1. Just want to take a look at a few things on this plane here. Here is your airspeed indicator, and here is your altitude indicator. And then you have some information across here, like your waypoints, your bearings, your distance, estimated time to get there, your ground speed, and your actual bearing that you're tracking. Then you've got your audio. Now the audio is set in my settings to be handled by the COPilot, so I don't have to worry about that. It'll automatically change those settings. But we do need to click on the center here. It's a touch screen, and make sure we're on GPS here. Not VOR, but GPS. The other thing we need to do is, I'm just going to click on split screen here and click on flight plan right down here. And I'm going to go to nav 1, and I'm going to enter the frequency for runway 24 right. So it's 10930 if you remember. And then you have to hit not enter but transfer. So now that's the active frequency. So we're all set there. I'm going to click on here again. I'm going to click one more time, get the map path. So we are going to be taking off in this direction, you can see, because the plane is pointing that way, and it's going to turn around and come back and pick things up. That's what should happen if everything's been done correctly. Now I'm just going to go down here and take a look at some lights here. See, our landing lights are on. Okay, ICE, nav. So those have all been turned on for us. PTOT. I'm going to turn on the PTOT because we're going to be having snow. And also, this is anti-ice for the engines. Put that on. Some of these are not operative. They're just there for aesthetic reasons, so they show what the plane actually looks like. There's your landing gear. And your flaps are down here. You want to try and do flaps yourself. There's your throttle. There's your engine condition. And that's all been set for us. So we're actually good to go right now. Now that we've entered that frequency. And I'm just going to see if there's anything else down here in the way of de-icing, because I'm going to set it to snow. Airframe de-ice. Well, I can turn that on, apparently. Okay. And we're good. Okay. So, just go up here so we can see out. Now, to change the weather, I'm just going to click on here, and I'm going to make it daytime so we can see. And I am going to select, so this is January 26th, so it's cold in Canada. I'm going to click on snow, and now we have instant stormy weather. So we're good to go. I'm going to show you how to set the autopilot. This is just a little warning here because we turned some of those switches on. So I'm just going to go up here and show you these. This is your flight director, your autopilot, your yaw damper. This is your altitude. Select altitude knob. So see here, it's going up. I'm going to select 3000. If you remember, that was our altitude we're going to fly to, 3000. There's your heading. So there's altitude on off. Yaw damper, approach button for picking up your localizer frequency to get your glide slope. Your heading, your nav, your FLC mode. This is your vertical speed up and down, and this is your vertical nav. We won't be using that, but we will use vertical speed up and down. And there's your flight director button, sort of a duplicate button here. And for zooming in and out, you can just click on these, and you can actually drag it. So it's a touch screen, and I really like it. It's very user friendly, and allows you to see what's happening even though you have terrible weather. Now the barometric pressure, you can adjust it like this to whatever they tell you it is. So let's say it's 3.30.03. Now if it's set at that and they give it to you as 2.9 or 2, for example, just press B on your keyboard and it'll automatically reset the barometric pressure. And when it did that, you'll notice it changed our actual altitude reading. So now it's reading accurate. So that's very important on your approach for landing, that you're at the correct altitude for your instruments to be able to pull this off. So with that being said, I'll take a look at the co-pilot's window and now the pilot's window, just using the top button on my joystick. So my joystick has a lot of little things programmed into it, like autopilot, approach, auto throttle, spoilers, etc. It's a Logitech Extreme 3D Pro, and it's works very well for Microsoft Flight Sim. It's very inexpensive. So there's a number of buttons. So I can do the trim with this. I can do the braking with this joystick, and I've got my flaps set on that. So those are the main things that I wanted on mine. But you can program your buttons to whatever you want in the setup of Microsoft Flight. So we are going to take off now, and the parking brake's off, so now I can slowly increase the throttle using my joystick and head on down the runway. So here we go. It should track fairly straight, this plane, but we've got some wind here. It can blow us off around a bit, but at any rate, we have our flaps down for takeoff. So I'm just going to gently pull back now, and you can see the flaps are down and the landing gear. So right now we got to make sure we do a decent climb here and not get into overspeed. This plane will get into overspeed very
Departure
easily.
King Air 107 is at 1,200 feet, climbing 2,000 feet.
And don't pitch up too much.
107 departure altimeter 29.992 continue as planned. King Air 107 climb and maintain 3,000 feet.
Okay, I'm bringing up
Climb and
the
maintain
landing gear.
3,000 feet, King Air 107.
Pressing G on the keyboard to bring up the landing gear, and I'm bringing up my flaps before I get going too fast. Okay, so now we're going to go inside. We're at 2,300 feet, our altitude, and I'm just going to press Control 2, and we're going to set the autopilot, the yaw damper, nav. We're going to do vertical speed up, so you got to scroll down on the wheel to go up, and you can see that we're climbing here now. And if we get down here and have a look, we can see we're climbing roughly 1,200 feet per minute. So the plane should be, let me just zoom out here, should be turning around now to come back and pick up our flight plan, now that we have the autopilot on and the nav on. I'm just going to click on there and make sure that's on GPS. Like, I just switched to localizer now because it probably picked it up at this airport. So I'm going to change that back to GPS again. If you leave it on localizer, it's going to start circling trying to land at this airport, I suspect. So hopefully when it gets near, it doesn't do it again, but we're going to keep an eye on that. Now, that doesn't always happen, but when you turn and fly right back over the airport you just took off on, sometimes it will look for the localizer, because remember, we set the frequency 109.30 megahertz, which was for runway 24, of course, at Pearson. So I'm just going to keep an eye on this now, make sure it doesn't switch on us. So you can see our visibility is terrible. You want to watch your airspeed, because these turboprops, boy, I'll tell you, they can really move this plane along. easily at 240. So far so good. Still on GPS, and now we are picking up our flight plan, I believe. We're going to watch our airspeed, of course. Okay, everything looks good here. You can't see a darn thing today because we're in snow and clouds. So a good example of using the ILS on this plane to get into Toronto Airport in snowy weather, or any airport where it's snowing and poor visibility. Okay, you can see we're doing great here. We're right on track, and we're getting close. So now, when we get close, it may automatically pick up the localizer LOC1 for CYYZ. And when it does that, we're getting pretty close. I'm going to hit the approach hold mode button to try and pick up the glide slope. So I'm going to wait and see if it switches to LOC1 all on its own. We are at 3,000 feet. Air traffic control is pretty quiet. It might start squawking when we descend.
King Air 107, you are 11 miles northeast. Maintain present heading and altitude. Expect ILS runway 24 right approach via Pigma transition. Cleared to Pigma.
Okay, we're cleared to our waypoint.
King Air 107, you are 10 miles northeast of Toronto. Contact tower on 118.35 when inbound.
Tower on 118.35 King Air 107. Tower King Air 107 10 miles northeast inbound ILS runway 24 right approach.
King Air 107 Tower. Altimeter 29.92 wind 280 at 5. Cleared ILS runway 24 right approach.
Cleared ILS runway 24 right approach King Air 107.
Okay, I'm getting my speed down now so I can put my landing gear down. And my flaps. And it hasn't switched to localizer. So I'm going to do it myself. I just clicked it there. Now sometimes it'll automatically do that, but it doesn't hurt to put it on yourself. And shortly I'm going to hit the approach button and see if we can pick up glide slope letters turning green. So you can see we can't really see where we're going here. So this can be important for this to work. Oh, this thing's descending. So I'm going to hit approach. We just got a little warning there that we're descending. We're off 3,000. So you see this is
King Air 107 wind 280 at 5. Cleared to land runway 24 right.
Cleared to land runway 24 right King Air 107.
this GS really should turn green if I picked up the glide slope. So we'll have to wait and see. Like we're descending, and that's normal. So you want to land this thing at about 104 knots. But if it's descending, it means it's picked up the glide slope. Otherwise, it wouldn't be doing that. But I got to keep a close eye on things. Take it off autopilot if I need to at the last minute. So okay, so now you see it's gone green, GS. So now it's recognizing that we're in a glide slope. So very poor visibility. Let's see how we do. Now you can see the runway up here, so you got an idea what you're heading for. So that's always nice to have that on your primary screen. It looks to me like we're a little bit right of it, but this should line up perfectly if we're right on track. Alright, so I'm going to try and slow down to about 104. Watch you don't stall. If you get much slower than that, you're going to stall. I'm trying to hold the speed at
500.
around 105, 104. Try not to let it drop below that. Or you'll get into stall, or you might come up a little short on the runway. Okay, so you can take the autopilot off anytime once you see the runway and just land it. So that's probably what I'll do. Hopefully we're lined up really nice. Still can't see that runway. Wow. Yep. Barometric pressure, you can press B again. Okay, there's the runway. So I'm going to take it off autopilot now. And just try and bring it down gently. There we go. Okay, this does have reverse thrust, but I find you really don't need it. I'm going to bring up the flaps. Yeah, I find this plane stops very good with the brakes, so you really don't have to worry about reverse thrust.
Going to 119.1 King Air 107.
Alrighty, I have that programmed in, so I can just press a button on my joystick to bring up ATC, or you can use this right here. So, I'm just going to put the brake on again, tune the ground, request taxi to the
Toronto
gates.
ground King Air 107 taxi to the gate.
King Air 107 taxi to gate 70 using taxiway Delta 5 Delta Delta Romeo.
Taxiing to gate 70 using taxiway Delta 5 Delta Delta Romeo King Air 107.
When you put the reverse thrust on, the propellers will reverse, and it's a little difficult with this plane to tell if it's actually kicked in or turned off again. So sometimes you have to keep hitting the button until you can get this plane to move forward and get it off reverse thrust. Unlike the jets, like the Airbus, you can see actually the engines opening and closing when the reverse thrust is on. So we're just going to make our way through the snowy runway and follow our taxi lines. This is turned on in settings. There's these blue chevrons here to follow. All in all, this plane is beautifully rendered, I think, in Microsoft Flight Sim, and so are the airports. They're very well done. So we just had a big snowstorm in Toronto. It's similar to what you're seeing right now, so good example of what it would have been like trying to land there. So we're just going to go up and park at the gate here. If you haven't done that before and it's your first time, otherwise you can end your little tutorial here. I hope you've enjoyed flying with me on this short flight and learned a little bit about using autopilot and an ILS landing with this aircraft.
King Air 107 hold position, caution other traffic. King Air 107 continue taxi.
Okay, I guess
Roger King Air 107.
Vehicle stop. So we're almost at the gate here. So if you want to stick around, I'll show you what happens here. We're going to go inside a box. Now that's turned on in your settings to help you get exactly in the right position for that jetway gate to come over. Now with this plane it won't come over. It's just not it's not big enough aircraft. But with the Airbus, you'd want to follow this guy's directions here in order to get that gateway to come over. So he's just basically saying go straight right now. Okay, now you see the box change color? Now they'll disappear when I get in the correct spot. So he's going to put his hands together and then drop them. Okay. The problem is, you'll see it almost like you hit the guy. By the time he tells you to stop, you're right on top of him. But at any rate, that's the end of the flight, so you can shut things down. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to put the parking brake on so we don't roll anywhere. And just turn things down. And the avionics, let's see, that's in behind here. Gotta find them. Battery, avionics master. There we go. Okay, thanks very much for joining me on the flight. Catch you next time.